Hello Stitches, and welcome to the second episode of the Ranney Knits podcast. It is Thursday afternoon here in the upper left USA. I'm Justine. Let's talk knitting. First off, let me say thank you so much to all of you who took the time to respond to my first video. I was really nervous to post it, and the fact that you took the time to comment and like, and even some of you subscribed, which is incredible, really made my week. I didn't even think I was going to be podcasting again so soon, but the fact that I got any responses at all kind of made me feel really good, and I'm really excited to be back. So thank you again so much. You have no idea how much it means to me. First off, let me share with you what I am wearing. This is the blue Snowdrop sweater by Xenia of Life is Cozy. Her website, lifeiscozy.com, has a ton of free patterns, including this one, which she just released, I want to say 2 weeks ago. I was part of a test knit for this sweater, and I absolutely love it. I knit it with Cloudborn worsted twist. Oh, I should have had the label here. Cloudborn worsted. You can find it on Craftsy. When I bought it, it was on sale. I think I got it for about $8.50 US per skein, and I knit this. The main color took about 5 skeins, I believe. The contrasting colors, there are 4 contrasting colors, and they are, let's see, this is a Cloudborn, this is a Patons Classic, this is a Barocco, the white is a Barocco DK, and the green is a Mystery that I got. My mom found it in a auction, so it didn't have a label, it was all skeined up, but it's really nice. Some of these, the Patons and the Barocco, are DK weight. The Cloudborn, they say it's a worsted weight, but it is a very, very, very light worsted. So the pattern, the blue Snowdrop pattern, calls for, I think she said a DK or sport, and if you want it a little bit thicker, it could be worsted. So this worked out. I was right on gauge with the recommended needles. I think they are US 7 needles for the body. I like the yarn. It's soft. I have pretty sensitive skin, so I have a sweater knit out of Cascade 220 that's too itchy for me to wear next to skin. I have pretty sensitive skin, and this is fairly comfortable. It is pilling. I don't know. Yeah, you can see how much pilling I have. I don't know. Maybe I should have sized my needles down. I haven't gleaned this. I've worn this a lot since I knit it. I finished it. I finished it probably about a month ago. I didn't finish it in November, but I did finish it. I didn't finish it in October, but I did finish it in early November. So it's at least 3 weeks old, and I've been wearing it a lot. But I haven't gleaned it yet, which I was very tempted to do before I filmed this because I want everything to look really nice for you guys. But I wanted to show you like exactly what was going on with this yarn. And it is pilling, which I'm not stoked about, but I can live with it. It was very cheap yarn. I got it for a good deal, so that's what you get. I did add these sleeve details. This was not part of the pattern, but when I was knitting it, I struggle with putting colors together. Anything more than 2 colors is so stressful for me, because I guess I just need more practice. You just have to practice and do it a lot before you get good at anything. So I originally thought, so I liked this navy, but originally I was going to go with more of a, there's one pattern and I can't remember what it's called, but the sample knit, it's got this yoke color work, and the sample knit has like a baby blue, a yellow, orange, and white. I don't think it has a red in it, but I loved that, and I think the main color was a navy like this one, and I absolutely love that. That's what I was originally going to do, but I kind of wanted to use stash yarn, and I wasn't sure. I don't wear a lot of yellow. I don't wear a lot of warm tones, yellow, reds, oranges. I stick with my cool tones. I wear a lot of blue. And so I was browsing through my photos to kind of try to find some kind of inspiration for my colors. And I found this photo that I took this summer flying over Katmai National Park when we were coming back from our fishing site, and the colors were so perfect, and I was like, yes, that is what I want. And I just so happened to have all those colors in my stash, so it worked out really, really well, and I am so happy with them. So anyways, I was talking about these cuffs. I added them. So I was playing with colors, and I was doing test swatches, and I thought, why am I doing test swatches? I could just, the sleeves are knit bottom up. The whole thing is knit bottom up. I should mention that. It's great. It was my first bottom up sweater, and I really, really enjoyed it. I'll get back to that. Talking about these cuffs, stay on track, Justine. So I was testing out different color combinations, so I thought I'll just test them out as I'm knitting my sleeves. That way I can knit it in the round, see what it looks like. And so I knit, I want to say 4 different versions of this. The first 2 were just to try out colors. I had a different, I think I had a different tan and a different white than this at first, and it wasn't enough contrast. Then the second 2 were because I messed up on my tension. So when you're knitting these little sleeve cuffs, tension is really important, and when your color work gets too tight, you can't fit your hands through your sleeves. That's an issue. Believe it or not, you want to be able to fit your hands through. So that's when I switched to knitting them inside out. I sized up. I do know that sizing your needles makes a difference. Let me rephrase that. I sized up my needles on one of these because I forgot on the other one. So this one, I went up a needle size. I said I was knitting the body on a size 7, but I think I lied. I think it was a size 6 now that I'm actually thinking about it. And I am so distracted by all these pills. Maybe I should have gleaned this. Went up a needle size, knit them inside out for the color work, and I'm really glad that I added this. if you would like to read more about how I did the sleeves and all my other thoughts in a more coherent version than what I'm trying to say on this podcast, you can go to my website, reenactment.com. I did a post. I call them pattern reviews. It's under that section on my blog, on my website. I'm not sure what to call it. It's a blog website. Because I know technology. I really like this sweater. It is very wearable. It's got some short rows in the back to make it a little bit longer. I couldn't figure out which way was the front and which way was the back. I must have switched it around about 4 times before I started this podcast. I'm fairly sure it tends to ride up, and I think that's because I did the color work a little bit too tight. I probably should have sized up on my from my needles. Went up a needle size. There you go. That's how you say it. I should have went up a needle size doing the color work, because I can feel it a little bit on my shoulders. I do have a little bit broader shoulders, so if you have not as broad shoulders, maybe you wouldn't have to worry about that. But it is not fitting 100% perfectly, but for a hand-knitted sweater, this is probably my best fitting hand-knitted sweater. I have 4, including this one, I think. Haven't knit a whole lot of sweaters yet, but I went on a sweater kick starting in August, September, October, and a little bit of November of this year. I knit 3 sweaters, so fair to say I was on a sweater kick. But this one fits wonderfully. It's a little bit longer. I'm not going to try to show you. I will insert a photo because I'm not going to try to stand on the couch. But that is the blue Snowdrop sweater. It is very cozy. Oh, that's the other thing I want to talk about. It's got this double knit fold over. I'm not really sure what you call it, but it's you knit the collar a little bit longer, and then you fold it over. And did you bind off? Yeah, it was some kind of not a Kitchener stitch, but I can't remember what it's called, but stitch it over, so it's got this extra thick collar. In the directions, I remember now, in the directions it said to knit the collar with the same needles as you knit the cuffs and the bottom cuff, sleeve cuffs and the bottom cuff, which I decided not to do because the sleeve cuffs and the bottom are knit on US size 2 needles, which were a little bit small. I was worried. I think if I hadn't been doing the test knit, I wouldn't have knit them with size 2, because that just seems really, really small for a worsted weight. Well, worsted. This isn't worsted. For a worsted or a DK weight yarn. There it is. But actually, they are surprisingly stretchy, and the bottom is surprisingly stretchy. I thought it would fold up and be really small, but I don't hate the teeny tiny needle cast on. But for the collar, I don't like things on my neck. Like I cut all my t-shirts off if they ride up too close to my neck. So I used a US size 4 for the cuff. But like I said, it is all on my Ravelry page, or you can find probably more information than you want on my website. Moving along, I have one FO that, well, we'll talk about it. FO in this case does not stand for finished object, rather I'm calling it a failed object. It is living in this box of shame. And these are my Do You Want to Build a Snowman socks. The reason I am calling this a failed object is this second sock. Well, it's kind of hard to show, but the second sock is dramatically different than the first. It is quite a bit larger. Oh, there we go. That's got the two cuffs together, and I'm sorry, it's very hard to see, but trust me, it's quite a bit bigger. So usually when I'm knitting socks, my second one is a little bit smaller, and I was also a little bit concerned that this first sock was going to be a little bit tight. So I'm guessing that's where I went wrong. So I was trying to compensate for my second sock always being smaller and the fact that my first sock was a little bit tight, and this puppy ended up being quite large. I haven't tried it on. I was going to try it on my boyfriend's foot just to see. These socks are a Christmas gift for my dad, and I really, really want them to be right. So yeah, the first one looks great, and I think the first one is where I want it to be as far as size goes. This one is just so much looser. I could say, hey, it's a hand knit, but because, and if it was for me, I would just deal with it. I wouldn't care if my socks were slightly different sizes. But because it's such a dramatic difference, I think I'm going to redo it. I almost didn't say anything. I was very, very tempted to just show it on the podcast and do something like, hey, I have an FO, yay for me, I finished it, and then go and cry alone. But I just wanted you guys, I just want to, be honest and be real, and not everything in knitting is perfect, and we all make mistakes, and sometimes I get caught up in the, all the Instagram and people on YouTube who just like churn out all these things and make all these beautiful projects, and it's really inspiring. But also sometimes when you see people who are, just creating and seemingly creating in a seemingly effortless way, it can kill your knitting mojo and it can kill your creativity. And I just want to be honest, and so I'm sharing my failures. I'm pretty resigned to doing this. I finished these a couple days ago, and they've just been living in their box. I took a break. I stepped away. I was really disappointed when they came off the needles, and I looked at them and I thought, this one's slightly larger than the first one. And I thought I could block the second one to fit the size and kind of just sneak it out, cheat it a little bit, but after blocking, I I put them side by side and realized, no, this is not going to happen. It's just too much of a difference for me, and for a gift, I'm gonna redo them. I've got time. It's okay. It's not gonna take me that long, and I was really excited to be done with this project, so I think that's why it's so disappointing. I forgot last time, but I wanted to mention that I did knit these out of Hazel Knits Artisan Sock. I picked up this yarn at Vogue Knitting Live last month, and this yarn is just beautiful. When I saw their display, you walk in and they just have just an incredible amount of sock yarns in all the different colors, and my jaw dropped. So I couldn't help myself. I probably picked some of the most boring colors, but that's who I am. And I knew I wanted to knit these socks. I knew what colors I was looking for when I went in, so I do absolutely love this yarn. It is gorgeous. This green is just glorious. Like I said last time, I didn't follow the pattern. And you were supposed to put this little snowflake motif up here. It was supposed to also go down on this one. I don't need to show both of these. So I cut that out, but you were supposed to put a couple more stripes on this toe part, and I think that might, if I redo, well, I will redo one of these at least, but when I do, I think I will add a couple more stripes, because I think it needs it to break that up a little bit. I think it needs one more stripe. I just love these little stripes here. They're so cool. And the Eye of Partridge heel is really, really cool too. I mean, for a failed object, they're pretty nice. I still like them, and I'm going to be very happy when they're done. Going to be, oh you monster sock. Anyways, sad but true. That's the way knitting goes. Like, it's all a learning process. Some things just don't go your way, but I don't really have a problem with frogging things, ripping them out. I like things to be done right, and so I'm okay. I'm okay with ripping things out and redoing them. For this project though, I kind of wish I didn't have to, because I have like other Christmas things that I would like to be knitting right now. There's a little bit of a deadline, and I think that's why it's bumming me out so much. It's the fact that I'm kind of sort of under a deadline. Not really. Deadline sounds too formal. It's just Christmas presents. My family will understand if they're not done. My voice is getting a little scratchy, and I'm a little tired, and that is absolutely my own fault. We've been staying up way too late watching terrible reality television. I don't know if anybody's familiar with MTV's The Challenge. It is so bad, but so addicting. And they just finished their last season, and my boyfriend and I have been binge watching this season. It's horrible, but it makes for great knitting television. I love watching television while knitting. It's so great. One of my favorite things to do, which sounds terrible. I'm fairly active, but also I like TV. So with that, I have lots of whips that I've been working on while watching TV. And this is the one I showed last time. It is my Fallen Cloud shawl by Lisa Hands. And I think I was somewhere down here the last time I podcast last week. I should mark my whips with stitch markers, but I don't. So I've been cruising along on the border, on the garter. It is going a lot faster now that I have the cables memorized. I say that I have them memorized, but I just got back to the point where I was after ripping out a bunch of the cables because I messed up, because I thought I had it memorized and I didn't, but I just wasn't paying attention because I was watching bad reality television. This is being knit in the Cloudborn worsted twist, I think it's called. The same stuff that I used. Actually, it is in this sweater. It is in this sweater. It's the blue in the color work. You can see it. It's here. This pattern is really interesting because it's got the little lacy eyelet rows are done on the wrong side. So you yarn over and you knit together on the wrong side. So you kind of got a little bit of a garter going on, like a garter lace, which is pretty interesting. I've never done lace on the wrong side. It's only on the wrong side, so it's not I think it's called two-sided lace. So on the right side you do knit over, but the right side obviously you do the cables, so it kind of breaks it up, like right side do cables, wrong side do eyelets. So that's really interesting. The cables are, like I said, I have memorized them, but I don't always remember exactly what, I don't pay attention to exactly what I'm doing. But yeah, once you get to this point, it's pretty down pat. I haven't looked at the pattern in a while. What else? Oh, so you got the garter, which I love, and then you do that little cool little slip three stitches on the wrong side, so you get this nice little edge that doesn't roll, and it's really pretty. I haven't knit a shawl in a while. I haven't done lace in a while either. The last lace I did was, well, I did a sweater with some eyelet rows, but the last lace, any kind of detailed lace, was a while ago. Might have been my starting point shawl. So yeah, cables and lace. What could be better? Really pretty shawl. Loving this. I am on my second skein. I'm just doing Russian joins because I don't like weaving in ends. So let's see if I can find it. I think it's right there. You can kind of see those little bumps are a little bit bigger, but I like Russian joins because, again, don't like weaving in ends, and for a solid one color shawl. I'm gonna weave in 2 ends and that's it. So that is my fallen cloud shawl. I think I've said everything I want to say about that. So in order to make myself feel a little bit better about my failed object, I decided to cast on a little pair of socks. I decided to cast on a pair of socks to fit my feet, which aren't little, they're average. Now, this is what I have so far. This is yarn by, this is a very tangled mess. This is yarn by Misty Mountain Makers. She is Misty Mountain Makers on Etsy and on Instagram. We met through Instagram, and I couldn't pass up this beautiful color. It's got blues, it's got peaches, it's just perfect. I believe the colorway, what is the colorway called? It is called Lazy Afternoon. I always want to call it Afternoon Delight. It is called Lazy Afternoon. I don't know if it's still in her Etsy shop. This is on this is on her halfling base, and it's not a merino. I think it's a Cordale. Is that right? Am I saying that right? I just love it. I have already knit a pair of socks out of this yarn. So this is my leftovers, which I think it's about, I weighed it, I think it's about 65 grams total. So I'm just gonna make little shorties. I decided not to do contrasting toes, but I'm gonna do contrasting heels. And I'm knitting these on my, I think these are Addie's. They are, I believe they're US size 0. Which on here, the stamp is kind of hard to read, but it says 2.9 millimeters? I thought, is that right? No. US zeros, Addie Turbo Lace, I think is what they're called. So I'm knitting them 2 at a time, so I don't get an extra large second sock. And I really like this Addie cord. It's very, very flexible. It's very light. It's like a light gold color, which really pairs well with these. It doesn't, I know it doesn't matter, but it's just like, you know, that aesthetic that you get, like if you have like your needles match your whip and it's pretty and makes you happy, and that's what I needed after Mr. Failed Object over there. I needed something pretty. I'm doing a Fish Lips Kiss heel. I'm following that pattern, so I did cut out a little cardboard cutout of my foot. I've been told I have very thin feet, so these, I don't know. I don't knit a lot of socks for myself. I have 2 pairs of hand knit socks that I've made. I have one that my sister made for me, and none of them fit very well. They're all too big, so I thought, well, it's about time that I get a pair of socks that fit my feet. So the yarn over and the knit through the back loop makes like a really nice little toe. I just did every row, increase every row, and I'm happy with it. That is that. Finally! I have this little hat that I was working on last time. I've made a little bit of progress on it. And it is going to be, I think it's going to be the right size. It is for my boyfriend, and he has, his head is a little bit bigger than mine, and he has a lot of hair, so I think this is going to work out well. It is in MadelineTosh Tosh Merino Light in the colorway Scout. And I cast on 130 stitches with size 3 needles, and then I sized up to a size 5. These are my Addy Turbo Click interchangeable needles, which I really like. I've had a couple issues with them. They're my first set of interchangeable needles, and hang on one second. Low battery. These are, what was I saying? First set of interchangeable needles, and I really like them. The only issue I've had with them is when I was working with Cascade 220, which is a worsted weight, and I was working on the US size 4, which is the smallest needle that comes in this set, and it was catching on the join a lot, and I was getting kind of frustrated. But other than that, I really like them, and it's really opened up a lot of new knitting possibilities, because before that I didn't want to spend a lot of money on needles, and so I would just use whatever I had, and now I have all the possibilities, all the cords, all the needle sizes, so that's been good. I think that's what's like sparked the sweater knitting mojo, because I bought those right after I came back for the summer and started knitting sweaters because I had all the needles. I could do whatever I wanted. The world was mine. But yeah, that's this hat. Not very exciting, just a little vanilla beanie. I didn't get a whole lot done on this. This is my out in public or public transport knitting, so I worked on it a little bit when I went up on the train. Losing my voice. Stop staying up all night and watching the challenge. Like the last 2 nights, it's been like 2 in the morning and we're watching the challenge, and I'm just like so into it. You know those shows where you get so into it that like your knitting goes really fast because you're just zoned in? It's been great. That's probably why I've made so much progress on my falling cloud shawl, but it is, I have to stop. Like we can't go on like this. It can't happen. We're adults now. We have responsibilities. So I'd like to do a final segment with something that's maybe a little bit different. I don't really know. I do watch a lot of knitting podcasts. And a lot of them do what they call stash enhancement, or what other things do they call it? You know what I'm talking about, where they like talk about what they've bought since their last podcast, or what they've bought recently, and I love watching those. Don't get me wrong, I love watching them. I never, you know, when they say like, oh, at the end I'm going to talk about like what I've picked up so you can stop watching now, like I always watch, because I like, you know, that's how I get introduced to all these other yarn companies, and I find it really interesting. However, for me personally, I don't buy a whole lot of yarn. I do buy yarn, but not in the amazing quantities that some other podcasters do. And part of it is for financial reasons. I'm kind of a frugal knitter, but also I have a very tiny space. I live in a small apartment. I don't have a lot of space to put things. So that's kind of where I'm coming from. I also, I don't want to focus so much on consuming, I guess. But I do want to support indie dyers, and I do want to support small businesses. So I'm just doing what I can for what I'm working with. So I don't. So part of the reason why I'm not going to do a stash enhancement is because I don't enhance the stash all that much. The other part is I want to focus on knitting what I have and always be, you know, just not like buying for buying's sake, but buying with intention. And so that's, I don't know. I don't want to come off as like saying like, oh, you know, like you shouldn't be buying yarn. Like if it makes you happy, that's what you should be doing. But this is just for me personally, and I am going to continue watching your stash enhancements and loving them. So what I thought I would do is do kind of a what's in my queue. My camera just died on me while I was trying to explain myself. It just gave up. Shut up, Justine. Just stop. Anyways, so what's in my queue? It's my my idea is that I will show you a yarn and highlight a small business or independent dyer, and then in the next episode I will have a work in progress with that yarn. So I don't know, thought it would be cool. We'll see how it goes. Anyways, this is Biscotte yarns. It is a 8515 merino nylon sock yarn, self-striping. I'm sure everybody's heard of this. They were at Vogue Knitting Live Seattle, where apparently I was on this emerald green kick. I got the Hazel Knits emerald green and this one, and totally unintentional. This is their Bis-Sock. I think that's the their, anyways, this is their night colorway. It's got just gorgeous green, gray, black, and I am going to turn this into a pair of socks for the boyfriend. He's got a lot of socks already. He has one pair of hand knit socks that I knit a couple years ago. There. Well, nobody's gonna hire me to skein yarn for them. That looks okay though. That's not bad. So yeah, that is what is in my queue. That's gonna put me over 3 whips, which is last time I said that, oh, I don't like having more than 3 whips because it's so distracting and I get overwhelmed. And I watch that back. I watch myself when I'm editing, and I'm just like, ugh, yuck, meanie. Look at me, Miss High and Mighty. I don't have more than 3 whips. So I'm gonna cast on another whip because besides that hat, I don't know if I'm gonna finish anything. Just toss. That was classy. See ya. Oh, I'm tired. I should eat something. Yeah, so I probably won't finish. I might finish my little vanilla hat. Maybe Fallen Cloud, depending on how much. We only have like 2 more episodes of the challenge to watch, so I don't think. Look at the camera. I don't think I'm gonna finish anything. So probably have 4 whips, maybe no FOs, depending on what I do next. So I almost just spilled my tea. I'm thinking of podcasting next week, the week after I'm heading back home for the holidays, and excuse me, I don't know what I'm gonna do once I get back home. I'm gonna be home for 3 weeks, so next week might be my last podcast for a little while. We'll see. Unless I don't do one next week, in which case I won't see you until the new year. Anyways, we'll figure it out. But that is all I have to talk to you about today. So thank you so much for watching. Like I said, you can find me on my website, reenactment.com. I am also on Instagram and Ravelry as Ranney Knits. If you've made it this far and you enjoyed watching this episode, please give us a like, subscribe. You can hit the little bell icon down below to get notifications every time I post a video. Again, I appreciate all of you for commenting on my last video. If I missed something or if you want to know more, leave me a comment, let me know. Thank you so much for watching. Until I see you again, be well and happy